Before we begin with all of Louise's work, we're going to start with opening meditation because it's it's a really important part of Louise's work. Meditating basically quietens the mind, and that makes it much easier to become more aware of what's going on in the subconscious, and ultimately to rewrite some of the stuff we no longer want. So if you want to get yourself really comfortable where you're sitting, and you just get focused on the gentle in and out of your breath, closing your eyes, and just give yourself permission to relax. With every exhale, breathe out any tension, discomfort, or preoccupation you may have. And with every inhale, breathe in a deep sense of relaxation. Allow your body to relax completely. Let's take a moment to reconnect with the center of our own being. Self-love is the biggest gift we can give to ourselves. When we learn to treat ourselves as someone we love dearly, life becomes magical. Self-love is simply appreciating the miracle of your own being. Self-love is accepting all parts of yourself unconditionally. You no longer wait to be perfect to accept yourself. You learn to accept and rejoice in yourself, just the way you are, right here and right now. The thoughts you think and the words you speak are incredibly powerful. As Louise says, the point of power is always in the present moment. So the time to make the change is right here and right now. Today is a new day. Today is a day for you to begin creating a joyous, fulfilling life. Today is the day to begin to release all your limitation. Today is the day for you to learn the secrets of life. Thank you for making this commitment to yourself. And so it is. Take a deep breath in. And slowly out. And gently bring your awareness. Ready? Open your eyes. So Meg, we're going to carry on having a chat anytime. If you want to ask a question, because you're here on the session with me, you get kind of obviously first notice, because I'll probably get to check the group, to be honest, if they ask questions or not. So hopefully they're saying hello to me, and we've got some people joining, but they can always join the recording as well. So I'm going to just share a little bit about me first, just to kind of give a bit of context. So sometimes it's, some people know some things and some people know other things. So in the past, my long and dark past, well, a long time ago, I actually ran a pub. Can you believe? Well, can't believe it when I think back. But I've also worked in recruitment. I've been in IT, and I'm a mum of 3 girls, and I became a stay-at-home mum when I had my youngest. And to be honest, it is still the most rewarding job. I can't really call it a job, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. But it's also the hardest thing.
I can believe that.
Exactly. And of course I'm still doing it, because you're never done, no matter how old they get. So I later became self-employed, and I enjoyed that, because that meant I could be at home with my girls. So I worked from home then as well. But sharing Louise's work has been life-changing, and I feel it's really a kind of purpose, my purpose in life. And after going through some stuff in life, like we all do, kind of thought I got through it. Toxic marriage, a very difficult divorce, and health challenges for me and members of the family. I realised I still had some old stories hanging around, old patterns really, that seemed to be repeating themselves. And when I really looked at it, and I realised when I looked at Louise's work, it was that I just never felt good enough in so many areas of my life. And that was for all of my life, really. And don't get me wrong, life was an awful lot better, but there was still something. And the best way to describe it is it was as if I had a hole inside of me, and I was always looking for people to fill it. It's the best way I can, it sounds a bit weird, but it's the best way to describe it. So I kind of discovered, somebody recommended Louise Hay. I'd had heard of her, but I'd never read anything of hers at all. But I kind of obviously then got her book. I got, You Can Heal Your Life. I listened to a lot of her stuff on YouTube. I then went on to a workshop, which was based on her teachings. And it's very much like the online coaching I do now. That brought me to an extremely intensive residential training, which it was a turning point in my life, really. In itself, that was life-changing. And that gave me the license to share Louise's teachings. And I run these online one-to-one and small group sessions, really helping women to make some real positive changes in their life in a safe and confidential environment. And I also offer leadership development programs for companies where, they're kind of really companies that understand that their staff's overall happiness and fulfillment is the thing that's really important to the success of the company. Sorry?
That's really good.
It's very, very excited about that. It's kind of taken it's evolving as we speak. So it's really
and those companies need to be publicised, because they'll end up being.
I feel that, but there's not all of them are going to be up for it. But I think I'm especially interested in working with female-led companies, because I really love that. The feminine energy, I think, is something that we need to introduce more into the world. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And the changes that can take place, well, they're huge. Like the impact on our anxiety levels, stress, and negative thinking, as well as changing our feelings around self-worth and self-love. And of course, this work is all based on Louise Hay's books and the workshops that she developed and led herself. So if you've read any of her books, I know you've not really. No, you haven't yet. No, okay.
No, I haven't. I've heard of her. And I think through you, I've just really sort of found myself being more and more interested, as I've read what you've posted on LinkedIn and things like that. And the success stories that you put on LinkedIn are phenomenal. So you're doing some really important work, and it's a nice thing. It's very very rewarding.
Really rewarding. And when you kind of hear somebody come back the following week almost and say, something like, for instance, the forgiveness work, which I know I go on about a lot, but it's so powerful because we're never done either. But when they say that even if they're willing to, where before they wouldn't even think of it, they're just starting to open up to that. And that is just, because it's a gift, as I said, to themselves. So yeah, absolutely. It's an honor. It really is. But you don't have to have read her books to kind of, we're going to obviously talk a little bit, but there's lots of stuff on YouTube as well. So who was Louise? Well, Louise Hay had a very difficult, poor childhood, to say the least. She had a very violent stepfather. When she was about 5, she was raped by a neighbour. And at 15, she dropped out of school without any qualifications because she was pregnant. And around her 16th birthday, she had to give up her newborn baby for adoption. She eventually escaped her abusive life and went on to live in New York, where she later married. And it kind of appeared that her life had turned around, but her husband left her 14 years later for somebody else. And that's when her healing really started to begin. And Louise then started what would become her life's work. And it quickly blossomed into a full-time career. And she began traveling throughout the US, lecturing and leading workshops on loving ourselves and healing our lives. And I'm going to now read you a short section. I had problems printing this off, so I'm going to have to, I've got it up on my screen, so I'm going to have to call it up in a minute. But it's a short section from her book, The Power Is Within You. And I know she's famous for her book, You Can Heal Your Life, but I actually found this book incredible. You know, I love both of them, but there was something about this following it up with this book. It's kind of really speaks to you. Anyway, I'm going to read this section. Find it first, so bear with me a second. It should be right here in front of me. I'm going to move this over here, so hopefully I can see that. Okay, I'm just going to read it out because I think just hearing her words is going to make this very, very powerful. So then one day, seemingly out of the blue, I was diagnosed with vaginal cancer. First, I panicked. Then I had doubts that all this stuff I was learning was valid. It was a normal and natural reaction. I thought to myself, if I was clear and centered, I wouldn't have the need to create the illness. In hindsight, I think when I was diagnosed, I felt safe enough at that point to let the illness surface so that I could do something about it, rather than having to be another hidden secret that I wouldn't know about until I was dead. I knew too much by then to hide from myself any longer. I knew that cancer was a disease or disease of resentment that is held for a long time until it eats away at the body. And when we stifle our emotions inside of us, they have to go somewhere in the body. If we spend a lifetime stuffing things down, they will eventually manifest somewhere in the body. I became very aware that the resentment, which my teacher had referred to so many times, within me had to do with being physically, emotionally, and sexually abused as a child. Naturally, I would have resentment. I was bitter and unforgiving of the past. I'd never done any work to change or release the bitterness and let it go. When I left home, it was all I could do to forget what happened to me. I thought I had to put it behind me, when in actuality, I had simply buried it. When I found my metaphysical pathway, I covered up my feelings with a nice layer of spirituality and hid a lot of garbage inside me. I put a wall around myself that kept me literally out of touch with my own feelings. I didn't know who I was or where I was. After my diagnosis, the real inner work of learning to know myself began. Thank God I had tools to use. I knew I needed to go within myself if I was going to make any permanent changes. Yes, the doctor could give me an operation and perhaps take care of my illness for the moment, but if I didn't change the way I was using my thoughts and my words, I'd probably recreate it again. I realized that I was not really progressing in my life the way I wanted to, because I hadn't really cleared out this old garbage from childhood, and I wasn't living what I was teaching. I had to recognize the inner child inside me and work with her. My inner child needed help because she was still in great pain. I quickly began a self-healing program in earnest. I concentrated on me totally and did little else. I became very committed to getting well. Some of it was a little weird, yet I did it anyway. After all, this was my life on the line. It became almost a 24-hour-a-day job for the next 6 months. I began reading and studying everything I could find about alternative ways to heal cancer, because I truly believed it could be done. I did a nutritional cleansing program that detoxified my body from all the junk foods I'd eaten for years. I said affirmations and did visualizations and spiritual mind treatments. I did daily sessions in front of a mirror. The most difficult words to say, I love you, I really love you. It took a lot of tears and a lot of breathing to get through it. When I did, it was as if I took a quantum leap. I spent a long period of time beating pillows and screaming. It was wonderful. It felt so good because I'd never, ever had permission to do that in my life. I don't know which method worked. Maybe a little bit of everything worked. Most of all, I was really consistent with what I did. I practiced during all my waking hours. I thanked myself before I went to sleep for what I had done during the day. I affirmed that my healing process was taking place in my body while I slept, and what I would awaken, and that I would awaken in the morning bright and refreshed and feeling good. In the morning, I'd awaken and thank myself and my body for the work during the night. I also worked on understanding and forgiveness. One of the ways was to explore my parents' childhoods as much as I could. I began to understand how they were treated as children, and I realized that because of the way they were brought up, they couldn't really have done anything differently than they did. Step by step, my growing understanding of them enabled me to start the forgiveness process. The more I forgave my parents, the more willing I was to forgive myself. Forgiveness of ourselves is enormously important. Many of us do the same damage to the inner child that our parents did to us. We just continue the abuse, and it's very sad. When we were children and other people mistreated us, we didn't have many options. But when we grow up and we still mistreat the inner child, it's disastrous. As I forgave myself, I began to trust myself. I found that when we don't trust life or other people, it's really because we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our higher selves to take care of us in all situations. Eventually, I began to trust myself enough to take care of me, and I found it easier and easier to love myself once I trusted myself. My body was healing and my heart was healing. My spiritual growth had come in such an unexpected way. And that was quite a lot of reading, but I thought it was I found it really powerful. I remember vividly the first time I listened to it, because I tend to get her books in audio. I kind of have a hard copy, but I love listening to her voice. And I love the honesty in it, because she was teaching this stuff, but she wasn't really practicing it. And we need to, we really do need to. Even if we're struggling with it, it's kind of you need to live it. Otherwise, how can you really share it properly? So I think this period in her life was really key in her journey. She considered the alternatives to surgery and drugs, and instead developed that intensive program of affirmations, visualization, nutritional cleansing, and psychotherapy. And within 6 months, she was completely healed of cancer. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone should go and ignore Western medicine and go down that path at all. I'm just giving this as like an illustration, if that makes sense. All of it has a place. I know when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, I know that it was linked to all the years I could never speak my own truth and feel valued. I really do. And it made complete sense that was the kind of cancer I had. I did have the medical treatment. I mean, I believe that all has a place together. I hadn't actually heard of Louise, but what I did do, I didn't let it overwhelm me, and I literally didn't worry about it. I kind of thought, that's for the doctors to worry about and deal with. I'm going to just trust that I'm getting better. So that's how I look at it. But we're all different, aren't we?
We are, but actually, my father was diagnosed with small cell cancer 2 years ago, and they said that it was in his lung and that he was old, and the chances of him sort of healing from it were very, very small, maybe 5 to 10% chance. Yeah. And he has been completely healed because he is, I mean, he's not Louise Hay trained, he's none of those things, but he's a phenomenally positive human being. And he was determined to beat it. Yeah. And he changed his ways with his food and his outlook, and he became very determined to beat it. So I do think there is something to be said for mind over matter.
Absolutely. There's a whole connection of mind, body, spirit, emotions. I feel it's all connected. Why do we feel, like when we get nervous, we feel we have butterflies in our stomach, or we get all panicky and we get shallow breathing, because it's all our brain and our body, obviously it's all connected. So
it is. And I've prayed my way through the whole process as well, because obviously you do know that I'm a Christian anyway, but it was we just both decided that this was this was going to be our battle, and we would battle it positively and with the mindset that it was all going to work.
I definitely believe in all of that, because prayer is another form of meditation. It all depends, it's who you're speaking to, or whatever's right for you. That's what counts. That's what's really important. That's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
We found out in February that he was healed.
Oh my goodness. And I love it when you kind of, the doctors kind of go, I'm not sure what happened there, but it's just...
Well, there is a funny story to it, because I had dreamt this is strange, I had prayed that we were going to the consultants, and I dreamt that night, and I woke up with a picture in my head of a spirit level with a bubble in it. Hang on, so just coming to me, and I'm on the phone, so I'll ring him back. Okay, I'm on the phone. No, I'm on the phone. Sorry, my husband's just bringing the phone to me, and I prayed, and I saw a spirit level and a bubble inside the spirit level, and I knew that the cancer was in this bubble. I just knew it. Didn't say much to my dad. Went to see the consultant, and the consultant, Dr. Teo, says, well, Raymond, he said, it's really strange. It's almost like it's like your cancer's in a bubble, and it's just safe in this bubble. And we've not seen one of these like this for a very, very long time, very rare. And so he said, this cancer's contained within a cell. So that was the first bit.
Incredible.
And then he had had all the treatments, and then this cell became empty. It was empty, and then it was a little scar.
That is just beautiful. Goodness me. I mean, it's almost like we've practiced this. People may...
No, it isn't. I haven't told many people, because
I had no idea.
It only happened in February, and sometimes I think people think I'm a bit woo-woo because I'm a Christian.
You're in the right woo-woo company, that's for sure. You're talking converted, but it sounds so good. I mean, it's just just beautiful. So I mean, this is like divine time. This is the sort of conversations that are just the synchronicity of it. I just always believe in. So that's amazing. Gosh, thank you for sharing. Louise, anyway, so after this is all around kind of end of the 70s. This is all happening to her. So this led her to write her books, because, obviously her coaching and her workshops and everything was, becoming more and more successful. In 1984, she published You Can Heal Your Life, which went on to sell over 50 million copies worldwide. Wow. And in 1985, she also began her support group, the Hayride, and that was to help HIV/AIDS patients and their families.
My dog is knocking on the door. Sorry.
Okay, I'll carry on talking. It started with 6 men that were diagnosed in her living room, and by 1988, it grown to a weekly gathering of 800 people, and had moved to a much larger venue, obviously. So that work was all coming together at a time when these men were completely spurned by society, and before kind of any celebrities got involved at all. So she was a real pioneer in that, always giving. And also, what began as a small venture in her home, Hay House, was founded by Louise as a way to self-publish her first 2 books, Heal Your Body and then You Can Heal Your Life. Today, Hay House is one of the largest publishers of personal development material in the world.
Wow.
Hay House authors have included Wayne Dyer, Esther Hicks, Joe Dispenza, and many, many more. And in addition, Louise established the Hay Foundation, and that's a non-profit that assists organisations that supply support to those with AIDS, helps the homeless, marine conservation, and other charities. So I feel really honoured that, you know, you, Meg, and anyone else that's with us that are listening live, or watching live, or come on later on, because it's wonderful to remember her 4 years after her passing at the age of 90. And that was on Monday. So it's really wonderful to be able to pay tribute to her tonight. And you will have heard in Louise's own words that part of her healing her cancer was connecting and loving her inner child, the mirror work, visualizations and affirmations, as well as the all-important forgiveness work. And these, of course, make up the foundation of my sessions. And the breakthrough I see take place is quite extraordinary. And tonight I'm going to talk about how I find visualizations so powerful, and especially when you're using them alongside affirmations. So what do I mean by visualizations? Well, you know, you may already use them in your practice, but just in case you don't, you know, visualizations are a mental rehearsal for the new reality you want to create. You know, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the reality we create on the inside and the reality on the outside. It doesn't know what's real and what's not. So you are imagining, seeing, feeling, even tasting, if you like. You know, you can bring in all your senses, describing something you would like to create. And visualizations create a new inner landscape that in turn produces results on the outside. And I know that for a fact because that's happened to me. They can neutralize the past and create the future. By the way, I'm just going to say, I don't know if have you ever used visualizations at all, Meg?
Not so much. I think I'm more of a prayer warrior, really. But I do sometimes, when there's a difficult situation, I might draw something because I'm an artist. So, you know, absolutely, I might draw a little bit of something of how something's making me feel.
Right. Yes.
And so it kind of projects on paper sometimes.
Beautiful, beautiful. I actually think most of the time we are visualizing all the time. You know, often when we sit there and think of a memory, almost see the people in that memory and hear what's being said, you know, especially if they're quite troubling ones. What we want to do is think about, you know, what we're creating, you know, the visualization. It may not have happened yet, but we can still imagine it and have fun with it. You know, have that real sense of daydreaming. But I'm just going to take you through a really short little practice now on visualize, because some people really think they can't visualize. And I do appreciate that, but I'm just going to test something here right now. So I'm going to close your eyes just for a second, just where you're sitting, and just take a couple of breaths. Now I'd like you to see yourself, if you can, in your kitchen. And just look around your kitchen. You might have a table. It might be cupboards, a worktop. And then look at your fridge. And I'd like you to imagine yourself walking up to your fridge, opening the door. And there in the fridge is a fresh lemon. So pick up the lemon and take it out the fridge and take it over to the worktop. And just look at your worktop. Put the lemon down. Maybe open the drawer to get a sharp knife, or get the knife from wherever it is. Find yourself a chopping board. I'd now like you to cut that lemon in half. Can you smell the lemon? Can you see the juice coming from the inside of the lemon? Now I'd like you to cut a slice off. Pop that slice of lemon inside the lemon. Taste the lemon. It's bitter. If you like lemons, you can chew it and swallow it. If it's too bitter, take it out of your mouth and put it back on the chopping board. Then you can gently open your eyes now. When you open your eyes, just think about, hopefully you saw that lemon and you saw yourself cutting that lemon and things, but also you might even have got the idea of the taste of it.
Yes.
Did you get any saliva coming up?
Just a little bit, when you get that, when it's really bitter around your ears.
Get the saliva kind of creating on you. It's incredible. So that's all we did. That's a visualization. So it's really important. I think it's when our minds are more receptive after meditations or visualizations that our subconscious can accept those positive affirmations that we may introduce. So you've probably, because we connected originally on LinkedIn, didn't we? And then
we did.
I commissioned you to paint that beautiful jug for my sister and her husband, and and the glasses are just lovely. Go on about those. But you've probably seen me talk about positive affirmations as well. I share affirmations, all kinds of them. And Oprah called Louise the queen of affirmations. So they are used an awful lot in my coaching. And so an affirmation is just anything we say or think. And a lot of what we normally think or say is quite negative. It doesn't really create good experiences for us because we're normally just thinking all that negative stuff over and over because that's how we're almost brought up. I'm not blaming anyone because that's how our parents were brought up. It's, the world we live in, it can be pretty negative. But we have to retrain our thinking and speaking into positive patterns if we want to change our lives. So positive affirmations are positive statements about something we want to eliminate from our lives or something we want to create. But most of the time, people will say, I don't want this in my life. But we don't state clearly what we do want. So saying I don't want to be ill anymore is not giving the body a clear message of the health and the vitality we want to enjoy. I hate this job. Doesn't get us a fantastic new one. To create the new experience, you need to clearly declare. So our goal is to make very clear, positive statements in the current tense about what we do want to experience in our world. So here's one you can practice every day. And of course, it's even better in front of the mirror, I promise you, even if it feels awkward at first. And don't worry if you don't think it's true. Just keep saying it. The more you say your affirmations, the quicker the brain will accept them as the truth. And when used along with those visualizations, as I said, then they are even more powerful. So I will share actually in the group later on a visualization. I'll do a little recording and share that later in the group just to give you an idea of how they are. But they can be anything that we create. We can create our own. I've recorded my own from my own things that I just sit and listen to. They're just fun. You don't have to take them too seriously either. They're not you don't have to work hard at this. This is all supposed to be fun, if that makes sense. So here's one. Let's try this. I deserve love and joy and all good. Do you want to?
I deserve love and joy and all good.
Beautiful, lovely. And that is such a simple affirmation. Sometimes the simpler the affirmation, the better. Like, for instance, I am safe. Sometimes just I am safe when we're feeling anxious about something, or we're kind of finding that we're asleep at night and we can't, get back, we wake up at night and we can't get back to sleep. Whatever it might be, I approve of myself is another one. So that is one I'd love you to go away with. I deserve love and joy and all good, because that's what we do deserve. And we often go around in life, another one of Louise's exercises is all about deservability, as she called it, because we don't really think deep down that we do deserve love, joy and all good, but we do. Wonderful. Okay. And there is also evidence that where 1%, and this is really interesting about what you said earlier about prayer, because I definitely agree with that power of that. where 1% of the population started meditating, the indicators of a better quality of life for all increased. For example, there was less crime recorded.
Yeah.
If we are all connected, as I believe that we are, we're all connected on this planet, then when many people are meditating and becoming more peaceful, that will clearly send out waves of peace and love and understanding. In The New Science of Life by Rupert Sheldrake, he suggests there's a morphogenic field that contains all the thoughts there are. Now, I would call this, you may call that, God. I might call it divine mind or the universe. He's a scientist, so he kind of giving it more kind of technical terms. Anyway, Sheldrake believes that as we put more thoughts of peace into this field, it will create more peace on the planet. Following that, if we think in terms of solutions rather than problems, we assist the solutions needed for helping our planet. So, for example, if you focus on the problems of pollution or poverty, the problem is strengthened. It kind of, we were looking at this, talking about this, it's a bit like affirmations, if you like. We're looking, if you're only concentrating on what's going wrong, that's what creating more of. If you focus on knowing that there are solutions, you are putting more energy into finding the solution. What we resist persists. So in your personal life and in our collective life, if you continue complaining about a situation, the energy persists to continue that problem. If you're focused on the energy of solution, even though you don't have any idea what that solution is, you're giving energy to the solution, and that's what counts. So we're going to finish in a moment with a closing meditation and a visualization. It's an adapted circle of love meditation by Louise, but I've incorporated, peace and love, because I think at the moment this planet could really do with some collective meditation, and I thought that she would really love this as an ending. I know that she's looking down at us anyway. So at the end, I'm going to just, at the end of it, I'm not going to start for a couple of seconds, but at the end, I'm just going to end the session silently so that we can kind of carry on with our evening with that feeling, carrying that feeling with us, if you like. Do you know what I mean? And full of love. But before that, I'd really like to thank you, Meg, and everybody, anyone's watching it now or any time in the future, because this collective energy just keeps building. I truly believe that. But I'd like to thank you, Meg, for joining me, because
Okay.
this has been really special.
Thank you.
And the whole thing, I always love sharing this work, but you've made it even more special. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Was there anything you wanted to share from, just this brief chat that we've had this evening?
I think one of the things that I do feel that you're hitting the nail on the head with is energy. I believe in energy. I believe everything is an energy. Your thought is an energy. Your attitude is an energy. The way you look at somebody, the way you speak to somebody is an energy, and what you give out is what you get back. That's my thought process on everything. So I always try to do everything in a way that I would want to be myself. But there are pitfalls with that, because not everybody receives energy, even positive energy. So you have to, so there's always tests.
Oh, there is. It's always interesting that. But then I kind of think, what sometimes, well, it depends. I sometimes kind of step back and think, what's this kind of teaching me? What's this showing me? Sometimes not always, because, we react, don't we? And we're human beings, we're
truly, yeah.
And I forgive myself maybe for having dark thoughts about somebody. I agree with you about that. And I think the more that we open ourselves up to that idea and get more on the planet feeling that and thinking that, and that's what it's all about, is really we can make such changes. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, because it's totally in line with all of Louise.
Which is what I do for a living. Everything I do has an energy to it, because I told you that.
Yes.
When I paint for people, it's got its own message and energy with it.
That is beautiful. Well, that's kind of shows how much love goes into it. And honestly, everyone, you need to go and check me. Website or Facebook page or whatever she's got going. You've got a website as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Sometimes I look at them and I think, how did you do that? Because the smaller things, they're so intricate. And what I love is that I gave you, obviously the flowers that I wanted on there, but what I loved was just the energy you brought to it. Obviously, created something that was just beautiful. I mean, it was so beautiful. I didn't want.
It's a big problem that people have commissioned me twice because they've kept the original.
I'm really not surprised. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And she's already sent me a card saying, how lovely it was. So I've got a feeling she will be in touch, as I said in my message to you, because they appreciate that sort of thing themselves. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful to share a little bit of Louise's work in this loving space. And I always think she's smiling down on us, and I wish to thank her well from the bottom of my heart, because she's such an inspiration. And I do follow, I ask her for guidance as well.
I can believe that. I mean, anybody that you've ever loved or respected or have learned from, they don't go. No. They're in your heart. So you can...
They're in the field as well, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Energetic field. I feel that that's there as well. We could be here all night talking about it. Thank you again. I really, really appreciate you joining me. And I hope that, everyone's kind of got a little bit of something from this evening, just finding out a bit more about Louise, if nothing else, because I really feel that it's so important to carry on, sharing her work, because it is timeless. It really is. So we're going to, as I said, I'm going to start this really, hopefully it's, just feel that energy. We can send that out to the world. So when I'm finished and I ask you to open eyes, I'll just close the session quietly, and we can carry on with our evening. So thanks again, Meg. Okay, so let's sit back and get yourself really comfortable wherever you're sitting, and just closing your eyes, and take a deep breath in. And breathe out a soft sigh. Just let everything go. Start to become grounded. Picture the bottom of your feet connecting into the center of Mother Earth. Now visualize yourself standing in a very safe space. Release your burdens. Release your pain and your fears. Release old negative patterns. See them falling. Then see yourself standing in your safe space with your arms wide open, saying, I am open and receptive to. Now declare for yourself what it is you want, not what you don't want, but what you do want. And know that it is possible. See yourself whole and healthy, at peace. See yourself filled with love. Now, focus on your heart center, not your physical heart, but the heart center in the middle of your chest. This heart center is an infinite well of unconditional love. Imagine it as the colour pink, like pale rose quartz. Imagine the energy of this unconditional love, which is also peace, expanding from your heart center to connect with the heart energy of each other on this session and all that watch the recording. On this planet, we can be in a circle of hate, or we can be in a circle of love and healing. Repeat these words silently to yourself, or let them float to your heart center, where your emotional body can absorb them and know them to be true. I choose to be in a circle of love. I realize that everyone wants the same things I want. We want to express ourselves creatively in ways that are fulfilling. We want to be peaceful and safe. And in this space, feel your connection with other people in the world. Let the love in you go from heart to heart. And just as your love goes out, know that it comes back to you multiplied. Now imagine the loving energy from your heart center expanding and rising up through the roof of your room and home. It spreads across your village, town, or city, and across the country, and then continues to encircle the entire planet. Imagine that people everywhere have truly learned to love and respect each other, even when they disagree. Imagine that there are peaceful solutions to differences, and that our world is at peace. Imagine that there are creative solutions to all the challenges on our planet. Repeat after me silently. I send loving and comforting thoughts to everyone, and I know that these thoughts are returning to me. See the world becoming an incredible circle of peace and love. A circle of peace and love. And so it is. When you're ready, start to become aware. Breathe in. Take easy breaths. And when you're ready, gently open